I see Toyota is sending us a Sienna van to drive and test. The base price starts at $36,000, but this is the limited version. As you can see, it costs a bit more, plus we have some options. And here's a total tab. But if you want to spend more, the platinum version runs $52,000. Says it's made in Princeton, Indiana, by American. So let's open the garage door and roll it out. And here we go. They're still calling these minivans. Nothing mini about this. And we'll see if there's as much room on the inside as the outside when we take a peek at the cabin. By the way, this isn't going to be a complete 100% review. There's just too much stuff to cover, and other people have done that on YouTube. We're going to concentrate on the real world fuel economy, as in taking it out and get a real figure, not just read off the EPA sticker like the other people do. We're going over the seating and row capacity, the good features and the bad features they don't want to talk about. Also, there's a feature on this van that I consider to be a very serious flaw, in my opinion. Not clickbait, a serious flaw. So don't cut off the video too soon or you'll miss what I'm going to tell you. One of the first things we do when we get a vehicle is to check and see if there's a spare tire. There's not. The room for the tire is where these third row seats go. We'll be talking about these later. And in part 3 of this video, we'll be taking the headlights out in the dark and see how they perform, as well as other night driving. So don't go away. If you're hoping to find a Sienna with the V6 they've had for many years, you're out of luck. The only option isn't an option, it's standard. As a 2.54 cylinder hybrid with 2 electric motors, putting out 245 horsepower, torque rating at 176 at 4,400 RPM. The advantage is fuel economy, rate 36 in the city, 36 on the highway, 36 overall, with 2-wheel drive or 35 with all-wheel drive, which we do not have. We'll be showing you some real numbers later on in the video. Alright, let's talk seating capacity. Toyota says if you get the bucket seats, you have 7 passenger capacity. If you get the bench seat in the second row, you get 8. So let's do some counting here. 2 buckets in the front, that's 2. 2 buckets in the second row, that's 4. And the 2 seats in the third row, that's 6. Where's the 7th person go? Well, I guess you could put 3 in the third row seating, but be a tight squeeze. As far as I'm concerned, this is a 6-passenger van. I'm not picking on Toyota here. All the van companies do this. There's always the invisible person. They fit in the vehicle somehow. Now, if you notice, these third row seats do not fold flat. This is about as low as they go. Also, I slammed on the brakes early this morning. I heard this BAM noise, and this seat popped out of its hole and flew up and landed here. I wonder if that's a normal thing. I'll put it back down and we'll see what happens next time I slam on the brakes. Now we come to the second row bucket seats. They do slide back and forth on this rail. I'm told these seats are not removable. Although somebody on YouTube says yes, they can be removed if you put in a lot of effort. I'm not going to. But they do not fold onto the floor like on the Chrysler vans. You push the seat forward like this, and that's the back room you get. So let's look at the cabin. The sun visors do slide back and forth to block out the sun. Thank you very much. Glove box is a decent size. You have more room if you take out that monster-sized owner's book. If you like cup holders, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. Bunch on the door. I think I counted 16 overall. So divide that into the 6 people in here. I guess 2 drinks for each person at least. So I guess the beer in the left hand and a shot of hardcore in the right hand. And there is a drive mode switch for sport, normal, or eco. The info screen's a decent size. Earlier I told you this van, in my opinion, has a serious flaw. And you're looking at it, but hey, you can't see the flaw because we're in the shade. Let's take this gauge cluster out in the sun. Now can you see the gauge cluster? And this is late in the afternoon. Earlier in the day it gets worse. And here's what it looks like on a cloudy day. Get all kinds of strange reflections. all due to this plastic cover that needs to go away. This is a very common issue in a lot of other Toyota and Lexus products. Somebody needs to fix this. It's totally ridiculous. And here's another view. So the only solution, keep turning your head to find a good view or get some polarized sunglasses, I suppose. What I find puzzling is how did this ever get into production? I mean, didn't somebody notice this before it went off the assembly line? And number two, just out of curiosity, I looked at other media outlets on YouTube and the car magazines like Car and Driver, Motor Trend. Nobody mentions this. They have to see it, that's a given. But they don't say anything. Are they blind, stupid, or just too scared of Toyota? I don't know. This isn't really a deal killer, so I'm not going to keep me from buying this van, but it would be nice if they corrected the problem. Now that being said, let's review some other features in the cabin. One item we had mixed emotions about is this trip information chart that shows you the past fuel economy numbers going as far back as April and May. That's the positive news. The bad news, there's no numbers here. You just have to look at the graph and somewhere between 20 and 40 mpg. So I'm guessing this is around 34, this is 35, but what should I have to guess? I want some numbers here. The one on the far left looks like around 38 mpg, but according to this, the best was 34.6. Hey, I'm just the messenger here. But we got the vehicle that showed a distance empty of 425 miles. A lot more to go, that's encouraging. Alright, part one show and tell is over. Let's take this out and do some driving. By the way, if you hear a bunch of rattling going on inside this van, it's not the vehicle. I have a bunch of tools in here. This is actually a very solid, rattle-free vehicle. And the power steering is excellent. Quick, responsive, good feedback. Let's take some speed humps around 20 miles per hour, see how the suspension performs on impact. Here's bump number one. Very smooth. Here comes bump number two. That rattling from that tool chest is driving me nuts. I'm going to have to take the lid off. In the meantime, here's bump number three. And the big nasty one. A very smooth, comfortable ride, no complaints. Without that nice V6 engine, the ability to light up the tires is diminished somewhat, but still we seem to have enough power, especially if you put it in the sport mode. Of course, that's only with me driving. If you have 6 passengers or the mythical 7th passenger, it's going to slow the vehicle down a bit. Yeah, more noise than anything else. Nice brakes though. Okay, so far in mixed commuting we've been getting 26.9 mpg. That's a bit less than the 36 mpg claim, but a lot better than the older V6 Siennas I've driven that were around 19 mpg in mixed commuting. So let's take this out on a highway trip and see if we can bump the numbers up. There, starting at 0. I see a rainbow. Means we're going to have a storm coming up the road. I will say one thing about this Sienna van. It's one of the most comfortable vehicles I've ever driven. Extremely smooth, very quiet, low wind noise, good driving position. I've got about 450 miles left on the tank, and I could definitely go 450 miles on this without being fatigued or tired. If you do a lot of highway driving, you'll definitely be pleased with this vehicle. Also, I didn't notice it before, but in addition to a glass mirror, we have a rear view camera mirror in here, just flicking the switch. And there you go. A very wide view, crystal clear. Very nice feature to have. Hybrid vehicles usually get their best fuel economy in city driving and their worst on the highway, so how that we can get 36 in the city, 36 on the highway, 36 overall is a puzzle to me. That's the EPA claim. But we'll find out what the real mileage is. Our trip is about over here. Should be interesting to see when we get on the freeway. Well, there you have it. 110 miles on the freeway, 34.1 mpg. Slightly climbing uphill, about 1,000 feet in elevation. So I'd say it's close enough to the 36 claimed. Getting back to city fuel economy, about 4 days ago I was only getting around 23 miles to the gallon. Last night and this morning, after resetting the computer, getting 31 miles to the gallon. So what's the difference aside from the numbers? Temperature. When I was getting around 23, the temperature was over 100 degrees, like 100 to 114. In the evening and morning, we're looking at 89 to 95 degrees. That's not unusual. Hybrids don't like heat. Anytime you're driving temperatures over 100 degrees, you can lose up to 20 to 30% of your economy. If you live in a place with mild climate, say 50 degrees to 100, you'll be okay, but extreme hot or extreme cold, you're going to lose some numbers. That's just the way hybrids are. Nothing wrong with your vehicle, just normal. Keep that in mind if you buy one. So what's my take on this Sienna van after a week of driving? On the positive side, it's definitely the most comfortable vehicle I've driven in a long time. Great for long trips. While the fuel economy numbers weren't that impressive in the hot weather over 100 degrees, in normal temperatures, 31 to 34, not bad for a nice full-size van. And the drivetrain certainly had enough power to pull the weight, but it was only me behind the wheel. If you load this up with 7 passengers and luggage, might be a bit more strained. But when you're not hauling all that stuff, the economy's not too bad. Plus it's a Toyota, so it's going to run forever. Reason enough to buy one over the other brands. Okay, it's dark enough. Let's check out these lights. And I see in the low beam we have the 2 on the right going on and the 1 on the left dark. Now with the high beam, all 3 are lit up. And here's the rear view. And here we have the emergency flashers, a bit on the weak side from the front. We do have it on the mirrors though. And pretty tiny on the rear as well. Obviously you want people to see your emergency lights. You might want to turn off your headlights. Of course, not if you're driving in motion. And from the front, even dinky with the headlights off. With the transmission in reverse, and this is what you see, pretty good spread. And I just noticed we have a rear view camera in the rear view mirror, if you don't want the standard glass. And you can turn on or disconnect the interior lights at a flick of a switch. Gauge cluster lights up pretty well. Same with the shifter and some other controls. And above the mirror, all kinds of buttons to deal with. Just don't press the emergency one by mistake. Okay, now let's go with the headlights on a building 33 yards away or 100 feet. Very good height. Twice over the bushes. That's a good sign. And very bright and very wide. Very impressive. Go to high beam. Very strong in the middle. Not much height, but a good wide spread. Excellent low beams, though. Now let's take a look at the dark, dingy street with the low beams and then the high beams. And the headlights do a pretty good job lighting up the road signs if you're getting on the freeway. Overall, these are pretty good headlights, and all the other night driving passes. And yes, there's more than sufficient lighting throughout the cabin, in case you're wondering.